Walter Goddard, Bertated Hill. The Warren article in $5,000, I think, has appeared without any changes to the wording for at least 10 years. Invasive milfoil showed up in George's Mill around that time, perhaps a little before, and it's a terrific expanding invasive weed. I'd like to support the Warren article, of course, but tell you how it's spent and add a few words about the results, just for more knowledge on your part. 3 towns, Sunapee being one of them, raised $5,000 each year over that period of time, at least 10 years, maybe more, to support a request by the Lake Sunapee Protective Association in battling invasive milfoil. Our budget currently is, our LSBA's budget for invasives is $35,000. $15,000 come from the 3 towns that I mentioned. And thank you very much for participating in this. It's made a huge difference. The other half of the $35,000 LSBA raises from its own internal budget. A big factor are the lake hosts who man many hours at the 5 ramps that where the boats can be launched into Lake Sunapee. This past year, 4,613 boats were checked. Some amazing results have occurred for milfoil. We're perhaps the only lake, or we're of no other, where we have stopped the spread of invasive milfoil. There is no new milfoil occurring. Now that could change, obviously, but it's very, very encouraging. On the bad side is there are some new invasives on their way currently in Lake George and a number of other lakes to the west of us. Zebra mussels, Asian clams, quagga mussels. These are terrific in terms of spreading if the chemistry of our lake supports it. We're not sure of that. And one of the things that we're doing these days is that we have a cone-shaped filter that is towed through the popular ramp areas and then examined under a microscope. You cannot see them otherwise. So hence the challenge of if you can't see it and it's spreading eastward, we've got a big challenge in front of us. I'm not too sure how we're going to combat it. But we're hoping to learn from the experience that Lake George and others are battling. So I thank you very much for the support of the $5,000 and hope we get it again this year. We've got a big battle confronting us in the future. Thank you.
Any questions on Article 29? Hearing none, all in favor of Article 29, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Article 30, give in favor of the town raising and appropriating the sum of $95,000 for paving gravel road, Stagecoach Road, beginning at its intersection with Youngville Road and ending at its intersection of Hell's Corner Road, and authorizing the withdrawal for that purpose of up to $95,000 from the paving of dirt roads capital reserve fund as established by Article 19 of 2003 town meeting. This is a non-lapsing appropriation per RSA 32:7, paragraph 6, will not lapse until the road is paved or December 31st, 2015, whichever occurs first. Is there a motion? Moved by Giles, seconded by Shane. Discussion.
This is money that we have on hand in the capital reserve fund that was established in 2003. It's a situation where we have been successful in putting money into this account, but have not been successful at making use of it. You'll notice a little bit further on that there is an article to appoint the selectmen as agents to expend this fund, which could possibly push the program forward a little bit more insofar as that we'll be able to identify certain roads through our highway director and work with the people in the neighborhoods to be sure that it's something that they would like to have happen. We've had some conversation with the folks at Dexter's Inn in regards to this, because they are basically the only ones that will be affected, or almost the only ones that will be affected. I think that we can work with them and work with the highway agent to keep the road somewhat narrow to help keep speeds down. This should also cut down on the maintenance for the steep hill that's involved in this, as well as the severe storms that we seem to be having these days, which tend to take that hill out of us.
Question.
Hi, this is Dushan, Crossroad again. Just a quick question, unless I make sure I'm not confused. So on this article, it's for paving, but isn't Article 22 also for paving? And so if that's true, then is it $220,000 for paving, and is that typical?
Okay, the earlier article is for resurfacing or repaving the existing paved roads that we have. This is going to take a dirt road that we have now and turn it into a paved road. That's the difference. Is that?
But it's still essentially $220,000 this year to pave roads, whether they're already paved or not.
I guess probably you could say so, yes.
And then this will try to then put this back on, this new road would then try to have to get onto that 15-year pavement management plan too?
Yes, it would.
Gail Gutterman, New Province Road. There are many roads on this town that are gravel and dirt. I'm wondering how this road was chosen and what kind of traffic studies were used to determine that this road be paved.
Scott may be able to speak to this a little better. I know that I'm not sure whether you're familiar with the road or not, but it runs down over a fairly steep hill that is kind of down in a little bit of a valley in between the banks on the edges of the road, and it collects water pretty bad. And we've spent quite a lot of money over the last 5 to 7 years with some of the severe rain events and things of that nature in trying to maintain the road. And hopefully this project will cut back on the amount of stress that the road sees through these heavy events that we seem to be getting more and more of. And as far as the other roads in town, we certainly are interested in hearing from anyone who would like to have their road paved, and we will certainly work toward trying to make that happen.
Well, I guess what I really want to know is what parameters are considered. Is it the number of houses on the road? Is it the traffic? Do you actually know a dollar amount that you spend as a department on this particular road as opposed to another road? I mean, do we have some hard facts to back up that this is where our money ought to go?
I don't have any specific traffic data. I did look back in Tony's historic files, and I experienced a significant storm event myself there this year, which cost the taxpayers quite a bit of money to rehabilitate the road as it is in a gravel condition. It continues to erode down the hill. I looked at that section of gravel road because it's between two existing paved roads. And then I looked at the funds that we had available to us and how far I could get those funds to go putting into the gravel road that needed to be done, with 3 inches of pavement over the top and the drainage and the base course materials. I did look at other gravel roads around town. As I said, I don't have traffic data for a lot of the gravel roads, so it was a lot of visual observation that I did. Looked at number of houses, speed, pedestrians on the road, the maintenance that we had to do on the road on a routine basis. So my deciding factor was that this was between two existing paved roads. It was a short section. It has washed out numerous times, according to historical data that I had on file in my office. It's cost the taxpayers thousands of dollars to just rehabilitate and maintain as a gravel road. And with this fund being developed specifically for converting gravel roads to paved roads and the amount that it had in it, I was able to work with that amount and come up with this specific location to convert from gravel to paved roads.
Al Lumiere, 270 Nutting Road. Question I have is, how long has that road been a dirt road? 100, 200 years?
Since it was built.
I guess I go up and down that road a lot because of my location. I enjoy that road. One of the reasons is because it's not paved. It's much more navigable than some paved roads in the winter. Particularly one road I can think of is the road I live on, Nutting Road. It's probably one in the worst condition I've ever seen a road in. We've been fighting for 3 or 4 years, and not fighting, we've been asking for 3 or 4 years. I lived there 8 years to have the road upgraded, and we were told, yeah, maybe next year we're gonna put some money at it, and it's never happened. I did talk to Scott today, I've talked to him in the past about Nutting Road. He's very aware of the condition of that road. They've actually used a grader with some dirt to level it out somewhat. But I challenge anybody that doesn't or isn't familiar with that road to go up the road and take a look at it. You go up on Stagecoach Road, and it's very drivable. Plus, if you did have washouts, some of that money must come out of FEMA. And if it didn't, it wouldn't have done a job. I don't quite understand why that money can't be put into the existing paving fund, if not the whole thing, a portion of it, or used to take dirt roads and upgrade them and maintain them better. You certainly will have the equipment to do so. I don't feel that paving that road is being any asset to the town. There's only a business, which is a very nice business on that road. People like that road the way it is. I wouldn't say I particularly like living on that road if it was dirt with dust. I understand that's a problem. But I think we have a truck that spreads water once in a while on the roads. I'm not against upgrading things. I think that one, if you look at the consistency of the soils, the geological studies underneath there, it is a good scenario. So you may put a road up there and have a major storm, and then drainage is inadequate, and the road washes out anyways. I just think if it's been this way for so long, and nobody's complaining about it, why do we need to change it? Maintain it properly, upgrade it, put some money aside to maintain it properly. I think that's the route to go. I mean, I just don't see it. We're putting extra money into a paving fund. There should be a 10-year program, not a 15-year program. No roads in New Hampshire last 15 years. None of them. You'd be lucky the last 10 years. They're maintained properly. And I would like to see that money used in a different manner. On roads, but not for paving and staging. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I don't necessarily have any comeback for that. We do the best we can to maintain our gravel roads as well as our blacktop roads, and we do have some here in town that are pretty rough. But I think if you go to some of the towns around us, you'll find that they are probably in worse shape than we are. So, hopefully we're trying to do the best we can.
Any further discussion on Article 30? Hearing none, all in favor of Article 30 signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Article 31. Are you in favor of the town raising and appropriating the sum of $65,000 to purchase a new one-ton dump body truck and related equipment for the water and sewer department, authorizing the sale or trade-in of the existing 2003 Ford truck, authorizing the withdrawal of up to $65,000 from the existing water and sewer department fund balances, and authorizing the use of said trade-in or sale to reduce the amount withdrawn from said fund. Is there a motion? Moved by Sean, seconded by Representative Godwin. Is there discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, all in favor of Article 31, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Article 32, shall a town vote to designate as town forest the properties known as Wendell Marsh North, town-owned parcels, parcel ID 0224-0015-0000 and 0124-0011-0000. Parcels containing 144 plus or minus acres in accordance with RSA 31:110 to be managed by the Sunapee Conservation Commission. Is there a motion? Moved by Representative Godwin, seconded by Chairman. Any discussion?
As I touched on briefly earlier, this was a pretty big project that we did this summer with the Conservation Commission, Osmond Sargent, and of course John Johnson. And this is kind of the last part of the program to put it into a town forest, which allows it to be managed in a proper way as far as forestry and that sort of thing is concerned. Allows for recreational use, things of that nature. So it's kind of the last piece to put the whole puzzle together.
Is there any further discussion on Article 32? Yes, ma'am.
The only question I have is when a property becomes part of town forest, the recreational trails that are on it, do they stay intact?
Yes, they do, and as well as the Conservation Commission can work with any of the entities involved with recreational trails to either establish some new ones, hiking trails, different things of that nature, and or make adjustments to the trails that are there to make it better for all the parties involved.
Any further discussion on Article 32? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Article 33, shall the town vote to appoint the Board of Selectmen as agents to expend from the paving of Dirt Road Capital Reserve Fund as established by Article 19 of the 2003 town meeting. And as the comment is still intended, the schedule of paving will be as prepared and amended by the highway director and approved by the board of selectmen, and would now require a public hearing before proceeding. Is there a motion? Moved by the chairman, seconded by Josh. Discussion.
This, of course, is in reference to the article that we were just recently talking about for the $95,000 to pave a section of Young Hill Road or Stagecoach Road. Basically what this boils down to is that we felt that asking the town meeting to approve this was somewhat cumbersome, and basically took the people in the neighborhoods that were being considered for having a dirt road upgraded to a paved road kind of out of the picture just a little bit, whereas with a public hearing we can kind of pinpoint the particular area that we're dealing with and allow the folks that will be most directly affected to have their say. And one of the things that I should point out about this particular fund is that it was established with the express purpose of upgrading dirt roads to paved roads, and we really can't use that money for anything else without changing the capital reserve fund completely from what it is.
Any further discussion on Article 33?
I raised my hand earlier so that we could get our road paved, but I don't know if that worked. This is an article that actually...
It didn't.
I'm actually Sean Carroll, 5 out of 4 Road. And the money's been in here for a while now, and we haven't had a chance to use it, we haven't used it. And I think that to make the selectmen be able to expend it's going to be better for us, because there's been in the past a number of articles where I think we tried to pave some roads that, if I remember right, were on the warrant. It's just that it didn't pass because I think there was just contention. Some, there might have been 2 or 3 houses on it or something. And the paving program, people probably weren't informed enough of the program. And I think during the budget hearing is really the better time to really talk about it and get people to really know about it. Whereas right now it's a little difficult because now you have to make an amendment or do something that kind of tends to be a little foolish. But for the most part, I think the selectmen need to expend it and need to be able to, so that it doesn't turn into, well, do we really want it this year or not? The roads in Sunapee are good, although they have deteriorated because we have not been able to, or the selectmen have not been able to push the paving program forward properly. And there are a number of roads that I think that we probably can, as a town, save money if we allow them to expend the money themselves. But also, again, they have a budgetary process where they're actually making up the schedule. So the town does have input as far as what roads that we do want to do, what roads we don't want to do. So that's really where our input is going to be more valuable to that. But I think we still are not going to lose our say if we give them the chance to expend money. And I think that we should move forward with it because we are losing our roads, as that's what people have already talked about. And they're in tough shape. And I think we need roads. We're far behind on it as we speak now. The roads are in our shape as far as the pavement end of it. So I think we just need to be proactive and allow them to expend the money properly and vote yes on this. Thanks.
Any further discussion on Article 33? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Article 34. Shall the town vote to adopt the community revitalization tax relief incentive outlined in RSA 79:E, and further to designate the village commercial zoning district as defined by the town of Sunapee zoning ordinance as a development district for such purpose. Is there a motion? Moved by Josh, seconded by Sean. Discussion. Michael? Thank you. Michael, do you need the lights, Jim?
Can everyone hear me okay? I don't use the mic? No, not back there? All right, sorry. Is that better? My name is Mike Durford. I live on Brookhaven Hill, Harbor Road, and I serve currently as the chair of the Harbor House Delivery Committee. And the reason for this article is we believe this will benefit the town. We also believe it will give us a shot at trying to find a final use for that facility. And that's what we've been trying to work on for about 6 years now. We're currently in an agreement with a group called the Better Future Alliance, which is in the process of trying to market the facility for use. And this article has been used in a number of towns, as you'll see, very successfully to increase the taxable property in the town. And the bottom line on this piece would be that it gives this Board of Selectmen the authority to grant tax relief for anyone who would come in, whether it's the Harbor House Livery or any of the other properties that you're going to see in a minute. It gives them the opportunity to invest monies in those properties and to upgrade them significantly and for public benefit. And in return for that, they get a tax deferment, if you will, for anywhere from 1 to 2 to 3 to 5 years, based on the determination of the Board of Selectmen. We can leave it like that if that's easy enough. There we go. Sorry we didn't have a chance to practice earlier. Basically, I'm going to run through just a few slides just so you understand what the concept is behind the legislation that was enacted. It'll show you a couple of examples of where it's been used in other towns in New Hampshire. One of the things that it does is it defers the taxes, and people are concerned about that. But as you'll see, it does that for a good reason, because at the end of the deferment, then the building has to go back and be taxed at the full value, including the upgrade that was done. And it doesn't defer the existing taxes on any building. And you'll see in just a minute the types of buildings that might benefit from this. Let's try that. I'm not going to read that from here. In order to be approved, the project must first apply for tax relief to the select board. They have an application process. There has to be a public benefit, and there has to be a covenant drawn up, a legal covenant that goes on the deed that binds the property to make sure it performs according to the covenant. So if I have a piece of property in town, I want tax relief from the board of selectmen, I'm going to upgrade the property, I'm going to put $2 million into it, and I don't want to pay taxes on that $2 million until I get done with the project. They grant that, but they grant that with the understanding that there's going to be some type of public benefit. There's going to be a sizable increase in the value of the property. So when 2 years are up, $2 million gets taxed. It's an incentive for people to improve properties, expand properties, improve businesses, bring new businesses into town. But all the authority rests with the Board of Selectmen, as you see in the first bed. This shows you its tax incentives. It can apply to a building, but it cannot apply to just plain land. It cannot be just a lot. So it has to be a building that's going to be upgraded.
property owners who want to substantially rehabilitate or replace qualifying buildings, and they're the ones who are going to make the application to the select board. The select board can adopt any rules and regulations they want to do in terms of determining what's a public benefit, how many years they might be willing